The Flash is back yet again with another new episode. This is the 4th episode of Season 7 of The Flash. The episode is titled Central City Strong, and this was a good episode. This was a really good episode. I mean, I feel like it started to go downhill a little bit towards the end, but of course we'll talk about that later. And really, this episode just left me thinking like, wow, okie dokie then. There were some confusing parts, and again, we'll talk about all that later, but I do have to give a spoiler warning because we are breaking this thing down in depth, getting all the big details and all that good stuff. So now that you've been warned, let's go ahead and jump into this episode. So the big thing in this episode is that Abracadabra is back in town, and I love this character. I loved him back in, I think it was Season 3 when we saw him last time. He's a pretty cool character. He's played by David Dastmalchian. Great actor. We're going to be seeing him later this year in the Suicide Squad as Polka Dot Man. I'm really excited for that as well. But he was great here in this episode as well. I really enjoyed this character. And now he actually has his magic wand, which is pretty cool. So he's got some new cool tricks up his sleeve here. And the way that Team Flash actually finds out that Abracadabra is back is pretty cool because they're investigating a crime scene. Cool to see more of CSI Barry back. And Cisco finds, I don't remember what the specific scientific name was for it, but I'm just going to call it future energy all over this crime scene. And then also the fact that they literally find a dead body filled with playing cards. They know Abracadabra is back. So now they've got to figure out what is his plan, why is he back, and why did he just murder this guy. So they go after, Flash and Vibe go after Abracadabra, and he reveals some pretty interesting stuff about the future here, because this is something he did back in Season 3. He was the one that mentioned something about DeVoe, and then of course the next season, DeVoe, aka the Thinker, was the main villain. So he revealed some pretty interesting stuff that most likely is going to be followed up on here, like the fact that he calls Cisco Mecha Vibe, because now Cisco, even though he doesn't have his powers, he has this like, well, Mecha Vibe suit, and it's like a homemade Vibe suit and everything. So I mean, is he going to be going by the name Mecha Vibe? Because it kind of sounds weird, but I don't know. Whatever, we'll see. But the really interesting thing here was he said something about the Wrath of Kronark, and I have no idea who this is. Like, who is Kronark? Kronark, it has to do something with time, because chrono is like the base of like time in like words and stuff like that. I can't, you get what I mean. So chrono means time, and they deal with that a lot on Legends of Tomorrow, because of course it's a time travel show. So I'm not really sure what Kronark is. Is that going to be the main villain here of this season that's being set up? Maybe. Or maybe it's even something for next season. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I just wanted to mention those few little things there. But very easily, Team Flash is able to take down Abracadabra. But that was actually his plan, because he then gets taken to Argus, and he super easily escapes. And then he gets these obelisks, which was what his whole plan was. And then he creates this ball of magic. And automatically I was like, oh my god, he formed the Unity. Steppenwolf getting the mother boxes, forming the Unity for Darkseid and everything, Zack Snyder's Justice League automatically would remind me of. Good movie, by the way. Check out my full spoiler review and discussion on my channel. Good quality video. But no, it's not the Unity. It turns out it's actually an antimatter bomb, and automatically that brings us back to Crisis on Infinite Earths. The energy that the Anti-Monitor used to destroy the Infinite Earths was antimatter. So obviously this is a bad thing. It's a big no-no here, and it's small, so it couldn't destroy the whole Earth. But he said that his last trick is he's going to make Central City disappear. So he's going to destroy Central City. But then we find out why he's doing this, because apparently in the future, Abracadabra stole the MMR with the pre-crisis memories that Cisco created to restore everybody's memories in the beginning of Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 5. So he stole that, and within these pre-crisis memories, he found out that actually he had a family, but that family was erased after Crisis. So now he wants his family back, and somehow he thinks this is how he's going to do it. And one thing I do want to mention that was pretty funny is how when Cisco was explaining this whole thing of like Abra stealing the MMR, he was like, he mentioned something about like, oh yeah, Laurel Lance and Mia Queen and oh, never mind, that's not important. It's like, yeah, it's not important because that spin-off never happened, so just gonna ignore that show. But one thing I didn't like about this was that our kind of final battle here was Abracadabra was defeated, but Barry or Flash just convinced him to stop. And I mean, it makes sense with the character and his motives here, but they just did the same thing with Eva last episode. And I get that Barry's the paragon of love and everything, but he is a superhero, and I mean, I want to see him kick some butt, you know? Actually fight some bad guys. So I was kind of a little disappointed by that all of a sudden Abracadabra's gone soft and he's not a villain anymore. But unfortunately, that doesn't last too long. The power of love works on Abracadabra, but then all of a sudden this She-Hulk Shrek creature thing hops in with really bad CGI, I have to admit, because wow, that was hella bad CGI. And this is a Strength Force user. So we saw the different colored lightning unleashed at the end of last episode, and those were the different forces. You know, we got Speed Force, Strength Force, Sage Force. I don't remember the other names of them, but one of them is the Strength Force. And just like how Barry is a Speed Force user, this is a Strength Force user. And automatically, first thing this creature does is kill Abracadabra, aka Philippe, which we find out his name is, but it doesn't really matter because now he's dead. That's what makes me annoyed about this even more, is not only the fact that they made him into kind of a hero in the end, but then the fact that they just killed him off. Like, he was such an awesome character, and they were literally setting up a redemption arc, and I was like, you know, I'd prefer him to be a villain, but, you know, as long as we get to see more Abracadabra, I'm cool with it. But boom, he's dead, and that makes me sad because he was a really cool character, and it just feels like another villain has been wasted. But I don't know, it does set up something interesting here with this, you know, Strength Force user who just leaps away after that, and then that's it. That's the end of that. And we did see in the preview for next week that we're going to be having some other sort of Force user using like nightmare powers or something like that. So I'm really looking forward to that. But this episode ends with basically a new season story being set up, because of course last episode was basically the end of season 6, and then this was technically, even though it wasn't technically not, it's basically the beginning of season 7, and it set up a new story. And also, one other thing is that Iris went to this Mirrorverse survivors group, and she was dealing with PTSD and everything, so that's great. But let's talk about that ending cliffhanger of this episode, because throughout this whole episode, Caitlin and Frost were having these like really, really bad headaches, or brain freezes, brain freezes. And then the final scene, Caitlin walks in and she's like, Cisco, we got a problem. And then it's like, what is it? And then Caitlin and Frost are two separate people. They're I don't know, it was just insane. Like, what is going on here? Is this another effect of Crisis? Like, are these two separate versions from different Earths? Like how on Batwoman last year we had Alice and we had Beth? I don't know. Maybe, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. But it's definitely a really interesting concept because Frost hasn't really had much to do lately. So I guess at least it's something new for this character to do. But I'm excited to see where this goes with Frost, with the Force users, and all this stuff in the future of The Flash Season 7. So guys, let me know down in the comments below, what did you think about this episode, all your thoughts and theories, all that good stuff. So thanks so much for watching. Please drop a like if you enjoyed